Hello everyone, welcome to my first video tutorial about missions director coding. This first video will be about basic setup, stuff you need to know before you actually start doing some coding. If you already know this, skip it. Anyway, so first of all is extract the 6 director files from the catalog files. You use double shadows x3 editor 2. You can extract them into whatever folder you want. I chose to put them into the director folder directly, so I can code, test without having to move my files around. So I have a basic tutorial file already set up here. This is important that you save your file that you are coding on in the same spot that you have the director files, so you can use the schema files while coding, and it will be much easier. Otherwise you will have to do stuff from memory and all hell breaks loose. Anyway, these files are really not very important. They just need to be there. The other only file you need to care is this one. I open it with Internet Explorer. It will look like this. Here you can see how the schema file breaks down, and what the various nodes contain and what they do. There's a small information line here. Most of the time it's not very helpful if you have no idea what the hell they do, but it gives you a clue. But most nodes are pretty obvious what they're supposed to be doing. Problem usually relies is how they actually perform, but we'll get to that. You get several other infos down here. Classes, what they represent. This is all stuff you can later use within the specific nodes. So if you go down further, that's quite a lot. So here, this is the really important bit of this file. This is where you can look up all the variables that you can use within lookups and ship creations, and instead of using real fixed names, you can randomize stuff, and anyway, so we'll get to those. Most of them are very self-explaining. Some are not. And to the not so self-explaining, we'll get to those later. So switching back to, I forgot to mention, I use Visual Web Developer. This is the Express edition. It's free. You can download it from the Microsoft website. There are several other XML editors. You choose any. I prefer this one. It's free and it does the job very well. Okay, now on to actual code. Open this pre-prepared tutorial file. It only contains basic setup. This you can copy this from any director file within the game, from plots and whatnot. This section here is really just information. You don't need that for the mission. It's just good you have it so you can identify the files and what they represent and who done them, etc. But again, it's not really needed. If you get this underlined with a blue curvy line, means your file is not saved at the same spot as the director schema file. So you should change that. So yeah, that's it. So having said that, it's good to understand that when you start coding, or in fact before you start coding, you should have done your homework. Means you should have a basic idea or really good idea what you want to do. So you should have like a script of your actions or of your mission, whatever it is. So you have a really good idea how the structure of the mission should look like. I mean, in the sense that how that you know when what happens, and so you can code in that order as things happen. Otherwise, it will be a mess. You will have a really hard time to add steps after or after you code it quite a while. So I mean, when it's real pain. You are halfway through your mission, and then you realize you forgot something, and you need to add, maybe 2 or 3 queues or steps above. You need to add a new queue. It will really be messy. So the more you prepare yourself, the easier it will get to code. So first thing to do is set up basic script step by step in order, small description of what you want to happen and when. And once you do that, you start coding. And when you start coding, you start preferably coding portion wise, meaning you try to avoid huge sections, so you can cut them off, test them independently, but more to that later. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is the more you prepare beforehand, the less problems or the less annoying it will be to test and debug your missions later on. So now there is a basic rule that goes that the first thing you have to start coding with is queues. You can have only queue after queues. You can have a enormous amount of queue within queues. Sounds a bit stupid, but it's how it is. As you can see, as soon as I started typing, this small drop-down window popped up. This is exactly due to the director schema file. It will give you the options, because queue is the only thing you can choose from after queues. It's the one we will take. So double click on that. Hit space, and you can see another set of options appears. This is things you can use within the line of queue. Like check will decide how many times the following condition will be checked, or whatever happens. So if I use check, I can use none, so which is default, so you don't need to use that. You can use cancel, means it will check the condition once, and it regardless of if well, not regardless, if it triggers, okay. If it doesn't trigger, it will not be checked again. It will cancel the queue. So afterwards, so it will go only once, and the same happens with complete. With the difference is it will set the queue as complete and not cancelled. In either case, the following conditions will only be checked once. So we don't want that. Comment is basically self-explaining. delay is good if you want to use conditions that are not event driven. So this is really important. Event driven checks like object change sector and stuff like that are related to events cannot, I cannot emphasize this enough, cannot be used with delay. It won't work. The mission will never trigger because the event driven checks are like 1 millisecond, and that the delay and that trigger be at the same spot is like, it will never happen. So don't use delay with event driven checks. But for the other checks like checking age or money or how many stations you got, or if you are flying whatever ship or what, you can use delay to avoid this queue to be checked every millisecond or every few milliseconds. This is good, so we keep performance drain down. So I'll use 2, and instead of putting 2000 for 2000 milliseconds, I'll use S for seconds, and that'll do it. So this queue will be checked only every 2 seconds. Game is if you want to allow this queue to trigger within all games, this is default, so you don't need to use it. Plot, this will mean it will only be available in game starts that have plot games in it. So if the game start is set as plot yes, this mission will trigger. If it's set plot no, it will not trigger. Same but reversed for non-plot. And custom, this is for only triggers in custom maps, so custom game start, but I rarely use that. Instantiate is a very very powerful tool to use. I'll get to that really way later. This is good for generic missions if you want this mission to be done like every now and again. So if you put instantiate, the mission will, every time the conditions are met, a copy of the code, this queue and below, will be made into an instance, and instead of the code itself that you are writing is being run down, it will run an instance of that code. So basically you can have like 10 copies of whatever you are coding below running at the same time. This is used for generic missions or whatever multiple missions you want. But let's skip that for now. This is very advanced stuff, very complicated. Still don't know it all myself. Anyway, library is a note. If you want to use the library queue, means if you put library 1, this is true, so this queue will not trigger on its own. So this will be used as a library, as a reference. So it will need an action queue with another queue with a reference to this library. So you can use it repeatedly as well, or like Ecosoft plots are done, they are all libraries, and then triggered within a different file. We'll go to this later as well. Map defines the map name if you want. Let's go back for a second. As you can see, it says here default plot map if default, and all maps if all or not supplied. So I really don't think this is needed, so we'll just skip that. I never use that. And here, as you can see, this is the queue name. This is actually the first thing you want to do. But for now, I'll leave it for last. Reference queue is exactly